Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome to NYM. This is a channel dedicated to wealth building and financial literacy for the younger generation. My name is Christopher Bell, and real estate investing, it can be extremely intimidating when you're just getting started, okay? I know that I ran through a couple of struggles myself when I first started in this space, and I want to talk about the number one thing that was on my mind as a new real estate investor, okay? My number one fear. And I've noticed that this is also a lot of other people's fear when it comes to real estate investing, and it can stop a lot of people from investing in real estate in the first place. So I want to talk about what that number one fear is, and I'm going to jump into a couple of things that you can do to prevent this fear from ever happening. Let's go. So I've talked to a lot of people, and they've asked me, how did you get into real estate? You know, what finally got you started? What push did it take to get you started in the real estate investment journey? And I go through my whole spiel, and usually the thing that they tell me is their biggest fear is, Chris, what if I rack up all of these properties and I have a mortgage that's due on the first of the month and the tenants don't pay? Or it's kind of a 2-for-1, because it's kind of the same thing, it's just wrapped into two different parts. Or what if I can't rent the property out to begin with? So it's number one, what if I can't find a tenant to rent to that's gonna pay the mortgage? And then number two is, what if I get a tenant in the property and they don't want to pay rent? What am I gonna do? So in the beginning, I can definitely see the downside of having this on your mind, okay? This is a legitimate fear that people have. They don't want to be held up for a mortgage and they can't, they can't pay the bank, and then they end up foreclosing and you mess up your credit and then you just go down the rabbit hole, okay? So what I'm here to tell you is, not only is that situation not probable, it's not even likely to happen if you follow these next steps that I'm about to give you. The number one way I feel as though you can prevent this from happening is, dun, 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 drum roll, get a property manager, okay? Property managers are in the profession for a reason, all right? My motto is that if you wouldn't manage 100 properties, don't try to manage one property. Okay, I'm always thinking with the end in mind from the very beginning. So I want to set up my team. I want to set up my structure for my real estate investment business with the ending in mind. So I have never managed even one of my properties. From the gate, I've had a property manager. I currently have 2 property managers at the moment. Okay, so I say get a property manager. Number one, because they know the rental market. So you purchased a house, and I'm assuming that you've already done your due diligence. You kind of know what the rental comps are in that area, and you've made the purchase based on the criteria of rents, appreciation, how much you're going to be able to depreciate. I'm assuming you've run your numbers accurately, okay? So you go get a property manager, they're automatically going to know, hey, I have this property in this area that we currently manage is getting this much in rent. We should start here, and we're gonna push it out to our list. They have email lists, guys, that they send out to all of their potential renters and people who traffic their websites. So they're gonna be able to push your property out to a lot of people in a relatively small amount of time. So number one, I would say get a property manager. They know the areas, they know the rent, they know the people. Get a property manager. Usually you're gonna spend anywhere from 5 to 10% for a property manager. Let me tell you, it is well worth it. When that leaky toilet breaks at 2 o'clock in the morning, you don't wanna have to get that phone call, okay? So a property manager is a really good way to ensure that you don't miss rents once you get a tenant in the property, and that you get a tenant in the property in the first place. So on top of having a property manager, you're going to want to screen your tenants properly, okay? What I mean is, so my specific criteria that I passed along to my property manager, along with their advice, like I actually talked to my property manager and said, hey, this is my criteria, what do you think? Because here's just the truth of the matter. You can't expect a 750 credit score if you're in the middle of the hood, okay? If you're renting out properties in the middle of the hood and you're trying to get a 750 credit score, people making 100K, you can just wrap it up. It's not gonna happen. All right, so number one, again, you have to think about all of these things when you're purchasing the property initially. So what I set my criteria for with my property manager was I require, based on the area that I'm in, I require a 690 credit score. Okay, that's number one. Then I require that you have 4 times the amount of rent. Okay, whatever the rent is, I require that you make 4 times that amount in 1 month. So for instance, if my rents are $1,000 for a property, you need to make $4,000. And that's gross, that's not net, that's gross. So before taxes. Before taxes, when we look at your check stub, you need to make at least 4 times, which in that case will be $4,000, okay? And last but not least, you cannot have a previous eviction on your record. The reason why I say that is because, and I'm not saying everybody's perfect, okay? Some people, you make mistakes, you know, stuff happens, I get it. Not all people get evicted because they're just malicious or they have some type of ill intent and they just don't want to pay. Okay, I get it. Life is hard sometimes, things happen. But here's the thing. As an investor, I understand that it is extremely difficult to evict a tenant. There are so many different loops that you have to jump through in order to evict a tenant. And during this process, the tenants are usually kept up to date with where they are in the process. And at any given time, they could literally just pick up and leave. And if you leave, we can avoid the eviction process, okay? This is most times. This is not all the time. Nothing's absolute, but most times, if they just were to leave, you could literally avoid the hassle. So the fact that you ran through the entire eviction and it happened and they got that stamp on their record, that lets me know a lot of the times, like I said, not all of the time, that, you know, that is not the type of tenant that I personally care to rent to. And when I told my property manager that, that was very reasonable. And we were able to get tenants into my properties that met all 3 of my criteria. And to this date, thank God, I have never missed a rental payment. I've been in business since October 2020. So since then, on all 8 of my properties, I have never missed a rental payment. All right, so if you set strict criteria, guys, for the people that you allow into your properties, you're not gonna have to, well, I'm not gonna say you're not gonna have to worry, because again, life happens to everybody, right? But you can greatly reduce the risk that your tenants will not pay if you screen them properly from the jump. And the icing on the cake is you get the property manager to do it for you. Now, let's say you've got a property manager, your criteria is all met, you know, everything's panned out. Or you know what, let's take it a step back. Let's say that you're still having trouble renting the property out. You've given the property over to your property manager and they don't have a tenant for you yet, okay? The first thing they're typically gonna look at is, okay, let's look at your property compared to these other properties in the area. Do we have room to kind of decrease the rents a little bit? Okay, and they'll usually recommend that you kind of drop that rent down, because you might just be out of the price range that most people in the area are looking to spend in rent, okay? So worst case, one of the worst cases, you can just drop the rent down, all right? Drop the rent down and see if that helps you get your property rented. If that does not work, okay, you've been doing everything you can and your property manager is still unable to rent it, you need to have a heart-to-heart conversation with that property manager. And you need to say, look, this is your side of the deal. Okay, my side is acquiring the property. It's your turn. You got the green light, bro. Do your thing. If they're not able to performance meaning get that property cash flowing, get that property rented out, then it might be time to look into a new property manager. Okay, you might have to go start talking to other people, and maybe they just don't have, you know, in that specific area you're looking at, maybe they're just not the big dog. Maybe they're not the top dog in that specific area, and there might be another property manager that is well versed in that area. Again, you can avoid that if you just kind of look from the beginning before you even start, you know, looking for a property manager. Say, hey, who's the big dog for this area? Who's the big dog for this area? And you kind of go about hiring them according to, you know, what they do, the traffic they're moving in that area. Now, if that doesn't work, then worst case scenario, you could always just sell the property, okay? This is last case resort, okay? This is your last solution to this problem. All right, so even if you sell it at somewhat of a loss, that's still gonna be better than selling it or foreclosing, okay, and getting it foreclosed on. So you can always put it on the market and you can sell it. Now you might take a little bit of a loss, like I said, but it's better than having a foreclosure on your record. That is the absolute worst case scenario. All right, don't come after me, okay? If this does not work for you, don't come after me saying, oh, but you said, I'm 99% sure that if you have hired a property manager and your rents are where they're supposed to be, and then even with that, you tried to decrease your rent, and then even with that, you tried to go find another property manager and they still couldn't rent it out, then you sell, okay? But I'm 99.9% sure that if you do all of those, then you're not gonna have to sell your property and you're gonna get it cash flowing, okay? I wanted to jump on and just talk about this, man, because I don't feel like a lot of people address this concern, and I feel like a lot of people have this concern. What if my properties don't rent out, okay? So again, hire a property manager. Make sure you do your due diligence before you ever purchase the property, all right? If you go talk to a property manager, matter of fact, let me throw this one out there. Hire the property manager before you even start looking at properties, because they're going to know, yes, we know this area, we love this area, typical rent time, it's a year's lease typically, but we know that we usually get properties for this area and we have them rented out in 1 to 2 days, no problem. Your property manager is going to be your best friend when it comes to getting tenants. So try to communicate, because they will also tell you if they're a good property manager and they're not too, their ego isn't too high. They'll also tell you, hey bro, that's a rough area. You probably want to stay away from there. We have issues renting. It's a lower income area. We're not able to push rents to a certain level. I would probably stay away from there. And you can take that type of information into consideration when you go to make the purchase. All right, guys, I hope this video helped. Definitely just wanted to jump on and address that concern. So many people say the same thing to me. I said, you know what? Let me make a video about this. All right, if this content helped you at all in any way, please consider hitting the subscribe button. I would love to have you as a member on the channel. I'm trying to grow this channel as always. So please consider hitting the subscribe button and like this video. When you like the video, YouTube algorithm pushes it out to more people. More people see this, we can get more people invested in real estate, which just helps the overall, okay? The overall picture is to get more people invested, because when more people understand real estate, when more people invest, the economy grows, it takes off, all right? Especially the younger crowd. We control a very small percent of all of the wealth that is currently circulating. So I love getting the younger people involved into real estate investing. And if that means jumping on and saying, hey, if this is your number one fear, this is how you can avoid it, all right? I definitely want this video to be pushed out to them. So please help me out by liking the video. And as always, I will see you in the next video. Thanks, guys.